Hello, I'm an education activist. Hear me roar. Hi, I'm Laura, and I'm a Maryland educator. And I'm asking you for two things. In the next 48 hours, millions of Americans will go to the polls on November 4th, 2014. I'm asking you, if you have not yet voted during early voting, that you get out and vote on November 4th. If you were like me and voted during early voting, congratulations. Thank you for voting, and please encourage anyone that you may know who has not yet voted to vote on November 4th. Maryland residents, if you don't know who to vote for, you should have received a flyer in your mailboxes this past weekend about the Apple ballot. If you didn't, please go to marylandappleballot.com. This Apple ballot represents what educators in the state of Maryland think are the best candidates for you to vote for. In my county, we interviewed every person running for a public office. It was after a series of interviews that my union decided which candidates to endorse. Once we endorsed them, we let our members know as well as our community members. And we got out our Apple ballot. So not only am I asking you to vote, ladies and gentlemen, I'm also asking you to be actively engaged in your government. Because the men and women that will be going to Congress after this midterm election are representing me and you. They are not our leaders. Let me repeat that slowly. They are not our leaders. They are our representatives. Their job is to represent our best interests in Congress. They will do anything they want if we remain silent. Silence means that we agree. And congressmen have taken that to mean praise as well. You have a right to speak your mind, to share your opinions, to talk about the things that concern you in your local neighborhoods, in your schools, in your community, at the state level, even things that are going on at the federal level. If you have concerns and you've not expressed them, I'm going to encourage you first to vote. Secondly, our congressmen and women and most of our public officials have Facebook accounts, email accounts, and Twitter accounts. And the easiest way to contact anyone, including the president, is to simply pick up your phone or unlock your cell phone and call. I know that sounds pretty intimidating because these people have public office, but they're people just like you and me. And it was people that had no rights at all that in 1965 decided we're going to work together and we're going to make sure every American can register to vote. Yes, I'm talking about Selma, Alabama in 1965 in March, when people from different backgrounds came to Selma and attempted to march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And they were beaten back by police. Many were hurt, and they were unarmed and innocent. Does this sound familiar? People being hurt by police, and they're unarmed? It's a shame that in 50 years in America, we're still dealing with some of these social issues. My point is, people have fought and died for the right to vote. And in this past year or so, the Congress and the Supreme Court have pretty much gutted the 1965 Voting Rights Acts. And in response, states across the country have put up voting restrictions for registration, photo ID, and college students will be adversely affected because of place of residence. This is done specifically to stop people from voting. It's easy to do when people don't vote. So I'm asking you to vote. I'm asking you to be engaged. I know you're busy. Everyone's busy. But if you have time for Facebook, not that I'm criticizing, you have time to be engaged. Because you could be a person that's impacted by a photo ID or a registration law that some state somewhere in this country has put in the books. You have to speak out. And the easiest way to do that is by voting. And you may say, well, Laura, that's easy for you to say. You're a teacher, you're outgoing, you have enough courage to make this video and place it on Facebook. But I'm just one person. I understand. It's not easy, not even for me. But you see, I'm passionate about this. I lived in Selma. I've met the people, some of which are deceased now, who walked across that bridge, not knowing what was going to happen. But what they did took an enormous amount of courage. And they did it because they knew life could be better and they could make a difference. And you can make a difference too. Mahatma Gandhi was one person, but he made a difference. Rosa Parks was one person, but she made a difference. Martin Luther King was one person, but he made a difference. And you say to me, well, Mahatma Gandhi, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, I'm not any of those people. Well, believe me, none of them ever dreamed what happened happened. All they knew they had to do was take an action. I'm sure that day in Montgomery when Miss Parks sat down on that bus, she had no idea she would become the mother of the civil rights movement. That's not why she sat down, and that's not why she stayed put. She had had enough. She knew what was happening in her country was wrong. She didn't know if she was going to live or die through the experience. You see, people are made heroes after the fact, meaning that after things are done, we sit back and we decide that person was a hero. But the people themselves often do not feel that they are heroes. They're just people, no different from you or I. You can make a difference. First, by voting. Secondly, by being engaged. You see, individually, your vote counts and you matter and you can make a difference. And each one of us, to use an analogy, may have a beautiful song and be beautiful soloists. But when we come together and we agree, we become a choir. And my last example, to encourage you, hopefully, is a man who is so controversial that people still can't make up their minds about him. His name, Jesus Christ. No matter who you are or what you believe, we can all pretty much agree at the time of his birth, according to history, his parents were homeless. They had nowhere to live, and he was born in someone else's barn. It seems very glamorous when we think about it now, but have you been in a barn lately? There's nothing glamorous about it. Secondly, he had no worldly possessions to speak of, no political office, no power, just an average person. But the thing that was special about him is that he knew he could make a difference. He had faith in his purpose, and he understood what his purpose was. Third, he died, murdered, crucified on a cross. We know that for sure. And finally, his body was placed in a borrowed tomb. All these years later, regardless of who you are or what you think, whether we can agree on what day he was born and what day we celebrate or do not celebrate Christmas, the truth of the matter is, Jesus Christ made a difference in the world. You know how I know? Because we're still talking about him today. And for retailers, Christmas, no matter how spiritual or how secular you may think it is still the #1 sales season of the year. And most realtors make over 50% of their profit during the Christmas season. So, no matter what you think about him, he made a difference. And guess what? So can you. Individually, you are a beautiful soloist, but together, we make a magnificent choir that cannot be denied or ignored. So please, regardless of what you think of me or even my presentation, because it's really not the point, please get out there and vote. Vote the way you want to vote, for Republican or Democrat. The most important and most essential thing to do is vote. And once you do, ladies and gentlemen, please stay engaged, stay involved, and hold our congressmen and women and our public officials accountable for what they do. Because yes, it does affect the quality of our lives. Thank you. And please get out to vote November 4th, 2014.